So, Joy, have you ever been to a Turkish prison? Do you like gladiator movies? By the way, is there anyone listening who knows how to fly a plane? Well, looks like I picked the wrong day to give up Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond. That and sniffing glue. Not that there's a difference.
What are you waiting for? It's time to Thrive Loud.
Welcome, everyone, to a special Thrive Loud catch-up episode here on Thrive Loud with a guest we had a long time ago as I look back on our total list of podcast crazy shows that we've had on this program. And it's been a while, and a lot of things have changed, and that's why we do these catch-up episodes, because it's a chance for our listeners to hear great, amazing things that these thriving individuals are doing. And the amazing thriving individual I have on the program today is JJ Ramberg. Hello, JJ. How are you?
Hi, Lou. It's so fun to catch up with you.
So the listeners are going to like this because my favorite story about JJ was that she and I met when she was emceeing an event in New York City. It was a C-suite event, I believe, one of Jeffrey Hazlett's events. And I said, JJ, I got to get you on the show. I'd love to have you on. And JJ's schedule was crazy because at the time, those that can look up her bio and you'll see it in the show notes, that she was hosting a show on MSNBC. And I'm pretty sure JJ did our entire podcast interview in the back of an Uber. Is this true?
I'm going to say it's not true. Whether it is or is not, I'm going to say that it wasn't true.
Well, there's some irony in this. And obviously, so let's get the listeners caught up. I want to start with, obviously, what happened at MSNBC, and then we moved over to this amazing project that you're working on, which we're going to talk a lot about. So that'll be our baton pass here for you to get our listeners up to speed.
Got it. All right. Well, okay. So when we last chatted on this podcast, I hosted this show called Your Business on MSNBC. And I also had, which I still have, a company called Good Shop, which is a coupon company that gives a percentage of what you spend back to your favorite cause or cash back to yourself. And so I'd been doing both of those for 13 years. I think we mostly spoke about MSNBC.
And we spoke about Good Shop, too. A lot.
Yeah, both of them. You're right. We spoke about both from the back of the Uber.
some vehicle in New York City, but that's not important right now.
I want to make it sound like it was some fancy black car service, not an Uber, Lou.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was the Uber XL or whatever they call it when you try to get some car.
Everyone's personal driver.
Yes.
So I was doing both of those. And yes, life was a little nuts because I also have 3 children and a husband and a whole life to tend to. And so the MSNBC story is sort of interesting. That was a show that was supposed to be on for 6 months. And it lasted 13 years. It became amazing. MSNBC's second longest running program.
Wow.
Through it, yeah, nuts. I got to interview all these amazing entrepreneurs, a lot of famous ones who you've heard of, like Jack Dorsey and you name it, that we've had on, the founder of Peloton and It Cosmetics and on and on. But also just a lot of, great people who were starting out companies or running small and medium-sized businesses who were really making it work. And so that was just such a fun job to have. But that show ended in last December. And by the
way, just kudos to you. 13 years on one program one network is pretty impressive these days. So yay to you for that long run. Well done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and particularly crazy again because it was 26 times longer than we thought it was going to
last. So true. So you leave there. Your entrepreneurial spirit with all the craziness you have going on is in full fledged. And one of the things we did talk about was the importance of your family in your life, both your siblings and your parents and the way that you grew up. And that's sort of, I guess, never really left, but it even enhanced and reconnected. Is that not true? That's called a softball/volleyball bump set spike question for you, JJ.
Yes. So my family is very entrepreneurial. We talked about this, but my mom was an entrepreneur. She started a company in her late 40s, which then turned out to be a very successful company, Monster.com's largest acquisition. which she started with my brother Ken, who is my co-founder in Goodpods and Good Shop. My dad is an entrepreneur. Both of my grandfathers, my husband's an entrepreneur. And because we like family affairs in this family, we also brought my sister on to working on Goodpods with us, and my nephew, who is also a serial entrepreneur.
So let's rewind here, because we flirted and we've shared a little bit of the name. What is Goodpods?
So Goodpods is an app where you can follow your friends, influencers, experts, podcasters like yourself to see what podcasts they're listening to by episode. It's basically for those moments when you are about to go for a run or get into your car or something, when you're thinking, what am I going to listen to next? And so no longer do you have to stare at your phone and think, what am I going to listen to? You get to scroll through your feed and see what these people that you trust are listening to. And it makes the whole thing so much easier.
So I love this, and our listeners will know this. If you go and check out her Good Shop, and obviously for those that are familiar with Goodreads, another entity that's out there about what books people are reading, I love what you guys have done here, because one, as a podcaster, obviously I'm in the space, so I'm very aware of all the great things that are going on. But next, and most importantly, is the combination of that social media aspect with the podcast itself. And I want to share with you why, JJ. So for those who are listeners to this program, and we have grown this very organically, this Thrive Lab craziness of this podcast show that we have, and a lot of it was through social media. And what I always get from feedback from people who I run into personally, or they'll send me something in social media, they'll say something to me like, what do you recommend? And I think this is ultimate, because like, you want the people you trust to figure out what people are listening to, and not just the show, but even the episode.
Well, that's the thing. And what happens oftentimes is you're talking to somebody at a dinner party and they're mentioning some fabulous episode, funny or smart or something, of a podcast you've never heard of. And then when it's finally time for you to want to actually listen to something, you forget what it was. Or maybe you remember the show, but you don't remember the episode.
Right.
So it's basically just codifying word of mouth, right? Which is how we find out about things in the first place. Now there's just one place to go. You don't have to wait for your friend to text you back when you're saying, wait, what was that thing you thought I should listen to again? And also you can follow people like you, Lou, right? I love your podcast, so I want to know what things you're listening to.
So what I also like about this, and this is an interesting thing that you may have stepped into a huge space in, and that is a lot of people have multiple players as it relates to podcasts. Some if they have an iOS phone or an Android phone, they might have certain apps that they listen to for podcasting. How do you engage to listen to this specific episode through Goodpods?
You can just press play. So
which I love.
It's pretty easy. You can press play and you can listen on Goodpods and share it on Goodpods. Or if you want to listen on a different podcast app, you can still share it to Goodpods by just clicking the share button like you would to any other social media, so that you can use Goodpods as a place for finding and sharing episodes and podcasts, even if you want to keep your podcast app that you listen with.
Yeah. And I think this is great, because what's also good is you can share to your friends, you can grow a network, you're connecting it all together. But what's also great, and this is the part that I love, is you're finding out what someone's listening to now. So those active podcast listeners, I learned about a show that I didn't even know existed from a very good friend of mine. And the only way I knew about it was because he had attended a party that we both were at, and he started talking about, you got to go listen to this. And I went into my phone. I had to go into my podcast app to try to find it and then get it. And to your point, you sometimes forget. If he's recommending it, I can go to his particular profile, pull it up, and then listen to it right then and there. I love the immediacy of that.
Yeah, you don't even have to do that. He can direct recommend, just like you would DM someone on Instagram, a podcast to you. So he would just click on our share button, say, send this over to Lou, and then it will get into a little direct recommended from your friends file on the app.
So JJ, we are launching this episode, or we're recording this episode right as you are launching the beta/alpha new versions of Goodpods, and you're putting it out there. Talk about how you are planning to take this, and what might be the interactivity across other social media platforms.
So you can absolutely share through Goodpods onto other social media, right? So if there's an episode that you love or a show that you love, you can share it out through any kind of social media platform. But the idea is ultimately, as more people join Goodpods and your friends are on there, this is the place you go when you're thinking about podcasting, right? And so you're thinking about podcasts and what am I going to listen to right now? Or I got to let my friend know about this. I know to go directly to Goodpods. And that should be easy. One other thing we're going to have, and I think this is, or we do have, that I think this is really fun, is you can have discussions on Goodpods. So if you're a podcaster and you want to spark a discussion about a show or an episode that you just launched, you can talk directly with your followers. Or if you're just a fan of a show, you can talk with other fans of the show.
So what I love about all this, listeners, is you can imagine, because we got JJ on early and she was such a fan. I felt honored because JJ reached out to me. Let me make it clear, not in the back of an Uber, not just haphazardly. She would reach out to me when they were validating or confirming certain things that you'd want to see or whatever it was. And I felt like a really involved user. So it was really cool. And I just kept getting more and more excited about Goodpods, so much so that you will start hearing more about Goodpods as we promote it through other Thrive Loud episodes, and we'll do it through social media. But we'll continue to be really active in the app, and we'll offer certain promotions to our listeners through that. So we thank you, JJ, for connecting us even more to our listeners.
Well, not thank me. I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Lou. Thank you, because you really helped shape this from an idea into a real company, right? I went on I really went and talked to some people who really understood this space as podcasters, as listeners. And that, I mean, talk about thriving. That is how you create a company that thrives, is by really hearing what people have to say. And so you had so many great ideas from us right from the start that I'm the one who's grateful here very, very much.
And I'm going to share with you that all those ideas, I'm the vehicle just to communicate it. All of that comes from the listeners who listen to our program that have asked certain things of us and certain things that we would want to see. So a lot of the ways that we had to respond, because I'm not nearly as technically savvy as you and your brother Ken, I'm at that point where I'm like, well, this is amazing. So when JJ told me about Goodpods, there were two things I was excited about. One was that Goodpods was coming out, and this is going to be a great way to connect the podcast community, but more so that I was going to have you on this catch-up episode, because I was like, oh my God, you got to tell everybody what's going on here, because this is great. I want to also ask you, how has it been putting an app together as an entrepreneur and all the stuff you've done? This is quite a different business from what you're normally used to, no?
Well, this is the second time around for us. So Good Shop, our company, is a website, not an app. But we built a company from ground up before. So I'm pretty familiar with the whole process and the whole process of building a digital company. Nonetheless, every company is a whole new baby that you are creating. And so it's been fun. There have been ups and downs, but it's been really fun, especially because this company, and again, it's still new to users actually being able to use it. But as I explain it to people, they just get it, right? Everyone has had that problem of thinking, oh, what do I listen to next? Or you probably hear this a lot too, Lou. Like I say, do you listen to podcasts? And people are like, I want to start, but I don't know how, right?
Yes.
And so this has been fun because people get it, right? It's been easy for me to get influencers on board and beta testers. And so now we just put it out into the world, and hopefully everyone loves it as much as we do.
So here's a perfect reason. And by the way, this is not just a sponsored by Goodpods episode. This is legitimately me excited about it for the following reason. At the time of this recording, we had just come out with the episode for Shannon Elizabeth on Thrive Loud. And we got a ton of social media interaction and a tremendous amount of engagement on the actual podcast landing page. But what I really wanted people to do was actually hear the episode 2. I mean, a lot of times we're doing a lot of promotion. We were driving traffic to Shannon Elizabeth's foundation. So there was a lot of, in addition to the podcast things that we were promoting. And that's what Thrive Loud is all about, connecting that stuff together. But it was a really great episode. And there was some really interesting things about what Shannon has done in her career and her life. And the ability, people would go to the landing page, they'd have to click on the podcast, or if they were on their phone, they had to listen on their podcast app. And now the ability to listen internally within Goodpods was the thing I was so excited about. So I'll be changing my requested profile things about certain updated episodes with you as ones that I love to listen to. So I'm excited about it.
And those are the ones we'll promote. And that's the beauty. You know what I loved about being a journalist so much is just this ability to kind of hop in and out of different worlds. Right. And that's what I love about podcasts is it's really kind of a low commitment way to just immerse yourself in a different world. And yet when I listen to podcasts, I would keep going back to the same shows. And now that I have these immediate recommendations whenever I need them, I think it's so cool. Like when I want to hear a science podcast, I go to my friend Gordon. And when I want sort of a self-helpy one, I go to my friend Chad, and when I want something funny, I go to Quinn, and you can decide what mood you're in. And it's different than going to a top 10 list. This is someone who you know or you trust and what they like.
And listeners, this is kind of cool because this is the part. There are over 700,000 active podcast programs out there. And
30 million episodes.
That's where I was getting to. And there are 30 million episodes. So not, like what show to listen to is one thing. Look, Thrive Loud has over 400 some odd episodes, and there's tremendous content in all of it. So just to have somebody say, I really, really liked this particular episode, and it could be one from a long time ago. It could be JJ Ramberg in the back of a Uber car on Thrive Loud. It could be whatever you want to listen to. But to be able to bring up to the front what someone's listening to now, that is huge, because sifting through all of this great content is going to be very particular to what you like to listen to. So if a good friend, like you just said, who's in the science space, or someone in the medical space, or someone maybe in the financial services space, whatever it might be, here's a certain leader that's doing something really cool, or a topic that people are talking about, and being able to access it that way, I think that's great. And I think it's a kudos to you and thank you for bringing this thing to life.
Oh, thank you. And we'll have as this gets released, we'll have a bunch of well-known people, which you will find when you get onto the app, who you can follow also. Just, not your immediate friends, but experts and influencers and people who you want to know what they're listening to. And again, your favorite podcasters like you, right? I want to know what you're listening to. So
JJ, biggest challenge you've had with Goodpods specifically, like you said, it's your own baby. They're all different ones, your entrepreneurial projects. What's been the biggest challenge with Goodpods and bringing it to life?
Knowing when to launch, right? And I think this is very common for entrepreneurs, especially in the digital space, is that we had to at some point just pull the plug and say, okay, not pull the plug, actually put the plug in, but basically just say, okay, let's put this out to the public now, even though we have a roadmap, miles long of all the things we want Goodpods to be. It's not there yet. So at some point we just had to say, put it to the public and then launch the rest of the features.
Yep. What's been the thing you're most excited about as this launches and as it moves forward? What are you most excited about for this new venture?
Two things. One is just getting more people on it because it's so fun. But on a very personal note, I am really excited to get all the people that I care about on this, who I want to follow, because my podcast listening world has expanded so much, Lou, that it's so fun now every time I have time to listen to something new. So I have, that's just like, for me, I can't wait to get a few particular people on here and see what they recommend.
It is interesting. I had an interesting conversation with a family member of mine. I'm going to leave them specifically out, but I just because
we'll find out why in just a second.
Yes, exactly. They're more of an avid reader than I am. I like reading books, but I'm not nearly as well read as they are. And in the Goodreads type of model, or the things that people are reading, this particular individual in my family can churn through a book in like a minute. I'm not like that. But podcasts, I could take on in such volume and such a frequency. It's amazing. And I think your level of getting people to take up a recommendation and try something is really going to exceed expectations. I know that you'll give a dibble dabble to listen to something, to hear about something, why that's good, and you'll give it a show. And that's, better than reading a book front to cover, and you probably can cover it in anywhere from 10 to an hour, 10 minutes to 60 minutes. So I think that's awesome. And I think that is part of what this is going to be really cool for you to see.
I hope so. And also, there's so many different lengths of podcasts. I was just thinking about this one that I was waiting in line for something. I wanted to listen to something really quickly. I scrolled through my feed and I saw that a bunch of friends of mine, actually, I think at the time it was like 7 people and we only had a tiny beta going on, had listened to one called Ant Colonies Avoid Traffic Jams, right? It's part of the podcast 60 Second Science, which I hadn't heard of before. It was perfect and interesting and short and fun. I would have never found that otherwise.
Yeah. And it's great. I think you're going to have a good service. It's going to be fun to watch this grow.
Well, I also think a good supporter, Lou. I am grateful to you.
Well, and our Thrive Loud fans also get the thank you because they're part of the reason why my passion for this continues to move forward.
Can I put a call out to your fans actually? Would that be okay?
Do it.
So this is new, as Lou has said, and as I have, stalked Lou for all of his feedback, I would really love feedback from everyone who's listening to this podcast. I mean, truly, tell me what you love, tell me what you hate, tell me what features you wish were on here, and you can send me an email directly to just jj@goodpods.com. Or in your profile and settings, once you get on Goodpods, there's a Talk to Us button. But we really want to hear back from people and be brutally honest with us. We have thick skin and we want to know how to make Goodpods great.
So listeners will know this. We'll put all the links, obviously, to Goodpods, where you can download the apps, all those pieces, which is easy to do for those that might not be as tech savvy as others. But we will also follow up with those notes and that follow up to our listeners so they can easily do that. And I'll do it somehow on my Goodpods page once I figure out exactly where I could put it.
Thank you. And everyone follow Thrive Loud, which you can find when you go on and you can search for people, just like you would do on any social media.
It's awesome. It's user friendly for those who love it. I love the headphones, like blaring the music kind of a thing as your logo with the yellow colors. Very cute. Very well done.
Oh, thank you. I really love that logo too.
And I guess looking forward for this year, we were just talking before we started recording, there's upcoming podcast conferences you're going to, things like that. What's in the future as you're looking, as Goodpods launches and your connectivity to getting the word out there about Goodpods?
We will be some combination of us will be at pretty much every podcast conference that is coming out there. We're doing all kinds of work to get interesting people onto the platform for you to follow. And so you'll just see more and more names coming on as you get on Goodpods, and we'll be suggesting people. And also, as important, we're just working on the product. So we have an amazing product team who are just going through that roadmap of what we want to add.
So JJ, we didn't get to do this the last time you were on the show because it wasn't part of the theme. We did ask you previously what your all-time favorite movie is, but now what we would like to know is right now at this time, as you're launching a new product and, the times are always fun, is there a certain song, a certain jam that you're listening to that you use to get yourself motivated out of a funk or whatever it is, or your favorite thing that you're listening to right now?
It's funny. I remember you really threw me off with that favorite podcast. the favorite movie last time. Do you remember that?
I do. You were you almost made a wrong turn in your very fancy black car. But anyway.
Well, you know what? Now I can tell you because now I remember exactly where I was when we did this because that just jogged my memory. And I was not in a car, Lou. I was at my desk, but it must have been very loud around me.
I know. I'm just kidding. Anyway.
But yes, you did throw me off. My favorite song, well, I have a bunch that I listen to at different times, but the first one that came to my mind was Let the River Run. You know that Carly Simon song?
Oh, yeah.
I love that song.
From Working Girl. They played
it. All right. I love that song. The first time I had to do something, like try out for something on camera, too, I remember listening to it on the way to work that day when I was a journalist.
JJ Ramberg, it was so great to catch up with you. If the listeners haven't been able to tell, I'm oozing with excitement about Goodpods. I know you are too. And thanks again for coming on and updating our lovely community about this amazing thing you brought to the world.
Oh, Lou, it's so fun to talk to you. I just, thank you for doing this show with me and for your support all the way around. And, I will continue to stalk you for ideas.
You got it. And to all our Thrive Loud listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Thrive Loud. Or find us on the web at thriveloud.com.